Welcome to the Exam 2 review. I've prepared the 8 most commonly missed questions so that we can go through and look at those in detail. Rather than use time in class, I've prepared this video and set of Chalk Talk sessions. I'm going to warn you, it may be a little rough. This is the first time I've done this type of thing, so please accept my apologies, but hopefully this is going to be useful for you. Now, if you have questions on any other questions on the exam, please get with me. Be happy to talk with you after class or during office hours. So, on with the show. The first question in our review, a look at price elasticity of supply. This is question 6 on version 1, question 17 on version 2. A key determinant of price elasticity of supply is, you're given 4 choices here. So there's only 2 of these choices that might even be close. The choices A and B. Let's remember, what are we talking about when we're talking about measuring price elasticity of supply? We're talking about how suppliers respond to a change in price. So we've got the items C and D, how responsive buyers are to changes in prices, the slope of the demand curve. Those are all focused upon price elasticity of demand. Okay, so let's go back to A and B. A, the ability of sellers to change the price of the good they produce. Well, remember, price elasticity of supply is measuring how suppliers respond to a change in price, not how they can change the price. So A is not a possible answer. Okay. Correct answer is B, the ability of sellers to change the amount of the good they produce. Okay, question 23 on version 1 is question 13 on version 2. So let's illustrate the impact of a price floor. So let's imagine that we're looking at the market for milk, and in the market for milk, if prices are allowed to adjust freely, we might observe a price of $3 and a quantity of 100 gallons of milk might be exchanged in this market. 100 gallons would be bought and sold. If the dairy farmers had approached the government and requested protection from falling prices, the government might have offered a price floor at $4. At a level of $4, this is going to be an example of a binding price floor. A binding price floor will prevent prices from falling to $3. The government will intervene and set prices at the price level of $4. So let's see what happens. What happens at that price of $4 in comparison to the price of $3? At the price of $3, we have 100 gallons of gasoline bought and sold. At a price of $4, we're going to have a lower quantity of milk is going to be demanded, might go down to say 50 gallons of milk, and we'll have a higher quantity of milk that's going to be supplied, might go up to 150. The actual quantity of milk exchanged in the market is going to decrease. Because once the price is set at $4, the consumers are going to cut back on the quantity demanded. Instead of being willing to obtain 100 gallons of milk, now they just want 50 gallons of milk. So the result we would see in this market is the price would be set at $4 and we'll have 50 gallons of milk exchanged in the marketplace. So going through the multiple choice question, after a binding price floor becomes effective, a smaller quantity of the good is bought and sold. Going through these other items, a larger quantity of the good is demanded. Well, that's not true. We saw the quantity demanded decreased from 100 to 50. A smaller quantity of the good is supplied. Well, that's not true. We saw the quantity supplied, suppliers want, is going to increase. Okay? And obviously, that's not correct either. Question 21 on version 1, question 9 on version 2. So here you're asked to graphically illustrate what's total surplus. Well, let's just separately draw another illustration here and to describe what total surplus is. So total surplus is the difference between the customer's willingness to pay and the costs of production. Graphically, we'd illustrate that with this large triangle. Okay. So just taking a look at this triangle on the right and comparing it with our illustration, we would identify that the correct answer at equilibrium, the total surplus, is going to be the area of A, B, C, D, H, and F. Okay, the area of that large triangle. A, B, C, D, H, F. So the correct answer is C in this case. Question 22 on version 1, question 36 on version 2. So in this problem, which is very similar to types of problems you solved on MindTap, addresses producer surplus. Producer surplus is always equal to price minus costs. Okay. So if the price of a good is $9.50, we want to be able to identify what the producer surplus will be. So in this case, if price is going to be $9.50, we would identify that the quantity supplied in this market is going to be 2 items. So we're going to have these first 2 items. The first item has a cost of $4, and the second item, so there's our cost of $4, and our second item has a cost of $6.50. Okay. So the producer surplus for these 2 different items is going to sum up this difference. Now, one way to do this is to go through the math, or another is the way I've seen a lot of students that solve this correctly is they just kind of drew a line across this and they said, okay, here's a line for $9.50. Okay. The producer surplus of the first item is $9.50 minus $4, so that's $5.50. Okay. And then the producer surplus for the second item is $9.50 minus $6.50. So that's $3. So the correct answer is $8.50. Correct answer is D. Question 27 on version 1 is question 5 on version 2. So a supply curve can be used to measure producer surplus because it reflects what? Well, let's remember, what is producer surplus? Producer surplus is equal to the price that a firm collects in the market minus their costs of production. So we have these different choices. So the correct answer is C. The supply curve describes the seller's costs. So when we describe producer surplus is the area between the price level and the supply curve. This question focuses upon the various stages of production. In the various stages of production, companies go through periods when their costs go down as they increase production, and then they go through a period where their costs on a per unit basis stay the same, and then eventually they run into constraints and the costs of production increase. So there were some key terms that were introduced. There was economies of scale, constant returns to scale, and diseconomies of scale. In this problem, this is a question 9 from version 1 and question 35 on version 2. So in this question, you're asked to identify which range of production the firm is experiencing economies of scale. Well, economies of scale suggest that costs are decreasing for a firm. As they're increasing production, the costs on a per unit basis decrease. So that's going to be true at output levels less than M. So the correct answer is A. Question 16 from version 1, question 37 from version 2. What is a fixed cost? A fixed cost is a cost that doesn't change, no matter what the quantity of goods are that are produced by a firm. So in this example, you're asked to identify which of the costs of a restaurant is a fixed cost. So in this example, we look through each example to see whether or not the costs are going to vary with the quantity of goods produced in the restaurant. So going through this list of items, the kitchen and dishwasher staff, that will vary with the number of customers at the restaurant. The more customers, the more dirty dishes, the more people you have working in the kitchen. Pepperoni and cheese, the more pizzas being served, the more there's going to be a need for more pepperoni and cheese. Gas for delivery vehicles. The more pizzas delivered, the more gasoline. So A, B, and C are all illustrations of variable cost. Only D is an example of a fixed cost. For a restaurant, you're only going to have one manager, whether you're selling 50 pizzas or 2,000 pizzas. You've just got one manager. So the correct answer is D.